This week's review is the Kebtek KPro KT35 professional electric secateurs that come with 2 batteries. Now it's fair to say I've had quite a few professional and very domestic pruners on the channel before. I've put them through their paces. This will be no different. Let's find out what's in the box, see what they're like to use, see what features they have, and see if they're any good. To add a bit of spice, we're also going to check out their optional extension pole. Let's get going. Hey. All right, let's start out by seeing what you get in the box. Now, to start with, the HDPE box that you get with these look like it's actually been made for them. So when it's rattling around in the back of your ute and stuff, it's a box that you're likely to keep using to store them in, and it's not something you're going to throw away, which is good. Speaking of throwing away, you get instructions. You get a dual battery charger. So this kit comes with 2 batteries. They're both 21 volt, 2 amp hour max batteries, and you can charge them both at the same time. If you're charging them both from dead flat, it'll take you about 5 hours. When you first get them out of the box, they charge to full in about an hour, so that's not bad. Most batteries are shipped at about 60%. As I've come accustomed to with Kebtek, you get a good range of high quality tools. So you get the Allen keys and the spanner that's required. You also get a little oil can that you can use for oiling your secateurs. Now obviously secateurs should be oiled. If you're using these professionally, you would oil them a couple of times a day. If you're using them domestically, probably just every couple of months when you finally use them. There's a little oiling point here that allows the oil to go right down inside the shaft. So that's a good thing. Oils everything from the one point, and this little bottle fits it apparently. We'll try that later on. It's not shipped with oil because of customs, but you can just put normal engine oil, or what I use is air compressor oil, and just put that in there and that'll oil them just fine. All right, we've got the batteries charged up. Let's take these outside, see how they work. Okay, so we've got the battery connected. Let's have a quick driving lesson before we go out and use these in anger. Now, the on-off button is at the base of the secateurs. You just press it once and they're turned on, but obviously not opened. To open them, all you have to do is press twice on the trigger and they'll open to their full capacity. Now, that can delay you. They've got a fairly fast stroke, but that can delay you if you're doing fine pruning. So if you hold the trigger down for 3 seconds, it shortens the stroke. So those of you who need a shorter stroke, all fixed. If you hold again for 3 seconds, back to the long stroke. If you hold down the trigger for 5 seconds, they'll go into sleep mode and they'll close. You can then turn them off, or you can reactivate them with 2 trigger strokes, and you're back to the wide open setting. Now there's one additional feature that these secateurs come equipped with, and it's an anti-cut your finger off function. It sounds good, but in all of the secateurs that I've tried with this feature, it's problematic, and interestingly enough, the Kebtek comes with it turned off. What the feature basically means is that if you are touching the trigger and the blade at the same time, your body completes a circuit and stops the secateurs from closing. All right, for those of you who want to know how to turn this feature on, turn the button on, hold the trigger down for at least 5 seconds, then quickly press twice on the trigger, and the feature's activated. Every time you turn the secateurs on, you'll have to go through the same routine. On, long hold for 5, 2 quick taps. But you should never rely on mechanical safety features instead of this anyway. So see this thing? Keep it in your pocket when you're using these, or any secateurs, regardless of their safety features, because you never know when they're not going to work. And for goodness sakes, don't hang on to what you're pruning when you're using power-assisted equipment. Now I will also point out that they've got another really good feature, and that is proportional control. The amount that I squeeze the trigger in is the amount that the blade closes. That's really good for some fine work, and that's really good if you're working around buds and things like that. There's also a digital screen up here which has a stroke counter and battery percentage. Stroke away. Now, regular viewers of the channel might be very surprised that I'm not just starting off doing something stupid and dramatic. Instead, I've come to small, new growth that is very fragile. What I'm trying to do with these secateurs is see how well the blades are set and see how well they're made straight out of the factory. What I'm going to be doing is making cuts to very small tissue and seeing if it tears the tissue, cuts clean, and see if it bruises around the cut site. Hand in the pocket. We don't wear gloves when we're using electric secateurs. We keep our other hand in the pocket. Do not touch what you're pruning. I can't say that loud enough. So I'm making both angled and flat cuts to very fine new growth and old growth, just to see whether it tears it or whether there's any bruising. I've got to say, I'm really impressed. Not only are they easy to control with their proportional controls, but the cuts are not bruising the plant tissue, they're not tearing the plant tissue, even on the smallest, newest of stems, even just on leaf petioles. So that means that the tolerances in this blade are quite good. Okay, that's enough fancy schmancy, pretty. Let's go and try and kill these things. Small cherry tree, no problem. Extending these to their larger diameter cut. Plenty of power. It looks like a diameter of about 40 millimeters is the upper diameter that you can reasonably expect to cut with these secateurs on their widest setting. So the cherry tree was no problem at all. We've had some gums come down in recent storms. Let's see how we go cutting through gum tree. We're getting down more towards its upper diameter limit. The cycle speed on them is pretty good, even when they're cutting through really hard wood. I reckon we're up to about 30-35 millimeters now. And the good thing is I can even cut fine wafers off this, and even in the gum tree it's not really causing any burring or causing any bruising around the cut. I'm taking very fine cuts and it's just coming off in a biscuit wafer. That's really impressive. And they're coping with the sappy wood of my fig trees quite well also. One note I would make is if you're pruning something that's really sappy like a fig tree, make sure that you wash these down with some alcohol or something to get the sap off when you finished using them. You don't want unnecessary rust ruining the absolutely fantastic performance of these electric secateurs. It's really annoying sometimes, isn't it? No matter how good your pruning gear, there's always something out of reach. Well, not anymore. The extension pole is quite easy to fit to the secateurs. Just shut them down, turn them off, and pull off the battery. Release the Velcro at the top of the extension pole and then slide your secateurs on the end of the pole. At the other end of the extension pole, you've got the little trigger. That's where you slide on your battery, turn on your secateurs, and then you're in business. You can't escape me now. The extension pole has an adjustment lever that allows you to extend it to up to several meters in length, and it's sprung so that if this catch comes loose, the pole retracts back and doesn't overbalance you. You also get quite a reasonable harness. I've seen brush cutters come with worse harnesses than this, but the pole's quite light and I don't really see you breaking much of a sweat using this thing all day long. Oh, I love this. Honestly, there is nothing that you would reasonably expect to find on a farm or around your home that is out of reach of these amazing little secateurs. Now, of course, I do have a pole saw and I've used that quite a bit around the farm. So the big question is, would I bother getting the extension pole package for these secateurs And I think the answer, even though I already have a saw, is yes. Because not only do your secateurs reach several metres in the air, I mean, have a look at this. We can extend this even further. That is just ridiculous length. But the cuts are so much neater than a pruning saw. So it kind of makes sense, if you've got plants and trees you care about, to prune them as carefully as you can. And these secateurs will allow you to do that. Now, in terms of battery life, Kebtek quote 3 to 4 hours per battery, depending on the cycle rate of your pruning. So if you're doing professional pruning and you're expecting to do more than, say, 7 hours, you might get an additional battery. But the 2 batteries that come with these secateurs should be more than enough for most even commercial applications during the day. I haven't tested the battery life of these during this review, but what I have had is really good experience with the Kebtek's baby brother, a little tiny Kebtek that I've been using around the farm for the whole year on the one battery with a single charge, and it's still going. So the battery life on these is really good, and I have no reason to doubt the quoted cycle time that they give for their batteries. So 2 thumbs up. I really like these secateurs, and as far as I've seen, for once, there's no downside. Don't forget, if you like this kind of review and want to see more cool stuff every week, hit the little subscribe button.